we can expect with our weather for the next couple of days. Overall, I'll just break it down real fast for the moment. We're going to see pretty quiet conditions the next 2 days, but Tuesday night into Wednesday, we could see a bit of an increase in our concern, and that's going to be more fire weather concerns as compared to severe weather like we've dealt with in recent weeks. So I'll get everything ready here behind the scenes. I'll flip the camera around, show you some very nice views across western Montana, and we'll get started with this update here in just a few minutes. So if you can give me just a second, we'll get going with that. I'm going to actually shrink this down just a little bit so you can see everything here on the screen. So about 30 seconds to a minute, and we'll be full on ready to go with this. All right, and there we go. Everything seems to be working here behind the scenes. Just waiting for one last thing to pop up. And there we go. There's the chat section. I couldn't find the chat section. But if you have any questions or comments as we go throughout this update, feel free to ask those in the chat section, and I'll try and answer them as we go about this. But as you're tuning in, let us know where you're tuning in from. Also, just kind of a heads up, we are looking at pretty quiet conditions for about the next 24 to 36 hours. We will start to see some changes starting tomorrow afternoon and evening, but bigger changes for Wednesday. And again, this isn't necessarily like a severe weather type of change. Fire weather is going to be our greatest concern. So let's get fully started in this update. Taking those live looks across the area, it's actually quite a beautiful evening out there. We're seeing those temperatures in the 70s and 80s this afternoon, mostly clear to partly cloudy skies. This will continue to be the case, and the reason for this has been a ridge of high pressure. You can see it roughly in this zone. It's starting to sag a little bit. There is a weak disturbance that's helping to break that down just a little bit. It has sparked off an isolated shower or two along the divide, but most of those are pushing off to the east, and really they're nothing more than just a sprinkle, as it has been all afternoon. I think that's going to continue to be the case. 98% of the area will likely stay dry for today. It's just in the higher elevations we may see that. Now, we do have a quick moving storm system that's really up in here. It's just that little dip in the jet stream. That's what's going to help bring us some changes for that late Tuesday, Wednesday time frame. But it's going to be moving from here all the way across the top part of that ridge and moving into our region, or at least clipping our region as we head into Tuesday. Now, as for tonight, mostly cleared, partly cloudy skies continuing. We're talking temperatures in the 50s for most locations, though 39 there at West Yellowstone, 49 in Dillon, 51 Bozeman, 52 Butte, 57 for Hamilton, Missoula, as well as in Thompson Falls, 56 up into Kalispell. Winds should remain on the lighter side this evening. Now, this is what we're getting into, though. I mentioned it before. We're tracking this fast-moving weather maker late Tuesday into Wednesday. This will spark off a few isolated showers and storms Tuesday afternoon and evening into southwest Montana. Right now, the likelihood of that is only around, say, 10 to 20%, but any of those storms that do develop will be capable of gusty outflow winds 30 to 50 miles per hour. Wednesday is really our day of focus, and that's going to be with this elevated fire weather risk. We could see an isolated shower or two up into far northwestern Montana with the storm system, but the winds with its cold front are going to be the biggest concern for Wednesday afternoon. Now, looking at those precipitation chances, only around a 20% for Tuesday and Wednesday. Southwest Montana Tuesday, northwest Montana on Wednesday. We'll talk about Thursday and Friday a little bit later, but looking at this, not everybody is going to see rain by any means. Most areas will be staying dry through all of this, but the winds, this is going to be our big story. And I'm going to slowly roll through this. This is Tuesday morning. Tuesday afternoon, we're talking in that 10 to maybe 25 mile per hour range on the high side. Not overly windy. There will be some gusts, maybe closer to 30 miles per hour. Wednesday, though, watch how these colors really become more vibrant. We're talking, this is Wednesday afternoon, right around 5 o'clock. Winds 20 to 30 miles per hour common, at least in those gusts throughout the day. Could see some gusts closer into that 30 to 40 mile per hour range, especially down in southwestern Montana, where that fire weather risk is going to be even higher as compared to northwest and west central portions of the state. So you combine the winds with temperatures in the 80s and 90s for Wednesday afternoon, but also relative humidities are going to be less than 20%. So this is the perfect ingredients for our fire weather concerns, and that's why we're going to be looking at those elevated concerns. Fire weather risk is going to be, I'll say, elevated to near critical. That's something we'll keep a close eye on, and this is a big reason why fire weather watches have been posted for Wednesday afternoon and evening for the Flathead Reservation, as well as most of southwestern Montana. So this includes places like Phillipsburg, Anaconda, Butte, up towards Clancy and Jefferson City, Ennis, the Madison River Valley, Lima, Dillon, Wisdom, Jackson, Polaris, those areas where we will see those fire weather concerns a bit more elevated. And let me get the specifics of those fire weather watches. We'll start off with the Flathead Reservation. We're talking winds sustained 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusts as high as 30 miles per hour. And then the relative humidity as low as around 15%. Once you get below 20%, that's really the kind of that final key ingredient for this. As for this zone, which is considered the West Beaverhead, Deer Lodge, and the East Beaverhead areas, they're broken up by fire zones, but these are fire zones 110 and 111. West winds 15 to 25 miles per hour sustained with gusts upwards to 40 miles per hour. And the relative humidity down here in southwest Montana may be less than 10% in a few locations. So this elevated fire weather risk will allow fires to catch and spread rapidly. And with those winds, we could be talking about some erratic movement with that as well. So hopefully we don't have any new fire start, but just know that that risk is going to be elevated to near critical. If it does reach critical levels, we may be talking about red flag warnings for Wednesday afternoon. And if that occurs, I believe that would actually be the first red flag warnings we've had all season. So, knock on wood, it's been a pretty quiet, or at least quieter fire season that we've seen so far. So hopefully we can keep that trend going, but the conditions at least that are going to be present for Wednesday are shaping up at least to not necessarily be in our favor that way. So that's our big story for really this entire week, as it looks like right now will be Wednesday afternoon and evening with that. Not talking about major severe thunderstorms or anything like that, but still any of those thunderstorms that do develop in southwest Montana Tuesday, if we do get any lightning strikes with those could help to start new fires. And even if they don't grow on Tuesday, Wednesday, we could see those really start to take off. So Tuesday, while the thunderstorm threat is quite low, it's not zero, and that could play a big role in what happens on Wednesday. So something I will be watching very closely as we go throughout the rest of this week, or at least over the next 24 hours or so, or 24 to 48 hours, I should say. But looking at those fire weather conditions, this is one of our tools that we use, and really watch for these yellows and oranges. As you saw Tuesday afternoon, low, maybe up to moderate down in southwest Montana. Nothing overly concerning, but it is a little more elevated as compared to today. Watch this Wednesday afternoon, though. You'll start to see those colors really blossom on Wednesday afternoon and evening. Oops, too far. And we're talking area-wide, low to moderate with some pockets of high concern. You see that really as you get into north central Montana. Winds are going to be coming down off of the Rockies there, off of the range, and that could accelerate those winds, making them even stronger there. But also, you see this brighter zone here up into northwest Montana and southwest Montana. And that's just really our biggest concern. Those fires could spread pretty quickly if they do develop and if they form, and if they don't, then we're in good shape. Now, looking at the current fire weather map, or the current fire map, overall everything's pretty quiet across the board. We're seeing a few fires up here into the Idaho Panhandle, northeastern Washington, helping to bring a little bit of smoke into northwest Montana. The Lightning Creek is the biggest one of those, where we're seeing the acreage roughly, let me get that information for you, have it pulled up here, just under 2,500 acres with the Lightning Creek fire. And then we get into this zone of kind of central, north central Idaho, where we're getting, again, more smoke, no major fires, at least within our region with those. But the Lamb Fire, about 80 acres. Island Creek Fire, sitting over 650 acres. The Big Bear and Rush Fires, which we've been talking about for a while now. Pretty consistent. Big Bear is just under 15,000 acres. The Rush Fire just under 7,500 acres. Those have not changed all that much over the last about week or so. And then we have a triplet of fires, the Placer, Artillery, and Elkhorn fires, all roughly down in this zone, which are all less than 50 acres. And really the only one that's over 30 acres is the Placer fire. Artillery and Elkhorn are around, say, 3 to 12, it looks like. Haven't seen many updates on those particular fires lately. And within the state, and really within our region, we have one active wildfire, and that is the Gill Gulch fire here to the south of Lincoln, sitting roughly 34 acres. Haven't seen a big update with that, other than, some sporadic updates, but no major changes to this particular fire, all sitting again around 34 acres. And then there's a pair of fires down in far southeastern Montana, and it looks like some of those are both getting a little bit more, I would say contained, but at least a little bit more under control, with the Beaver Creek and the Slaughterhouse Creek fires there east of Billings and southwest of Miles City. So that's the look at where our fire conditions are. Pretty quiet right now. Still dealing with some regional fires outside of the Gill Gulch fire, which is within western Montana. But hopefully we can just continue to keep this type of trend in place. Again, I'm going to knock on wood one more time, especially as we go into Tuesday and Wednesday. Potential for some lightning strikes in southwest Montana Tuesday, and then some more critical or more elevated fire weather concerns than we've seen so far this year across the region for Wednesday afternoon. So that's where we are. I think that was the last graphic I had for this, and that is exactly the case. So if you have any last second questions, feel free to ask those really quick. Otherwise, I will start to wrap this up. For most of the region, we're talking very quiet conditions today and tomorrow. Tuesday will be the hottest day of the next 5, if not the next 7, at least, where we're talking temperatures low to mid 90s, I think, for most of the region, though some of our higher elevation areas, as well as into northwest Montana, Butte, Kalispell, we're going to be dropping back down into the 80s, but still pretty close to average, if not a little bit above average for this time of the year. We'll see those temperatures cooling down Thursday, Friday, and Saturday behind the cold front. Biggest change in those temperatures will be west of the Divide, where we could see temperatures at to slightly below average. I think most of southwestern Montana will stay above average as we get to the latter parts of this week. And that's another reason why we're going to see that elevated fire weather risk for Wednesday. The winds into that 25 to 40 mile per hour range, temperatures in the 80s and 90s, and humidities in that, say, 5 to 15% range, if not, maybe 5 to 20% range. Still very low humidities. Sparks can lead to fires very quickly, and with the winds, those could spread rapidly. So certainly be smart and be safe over the next couple of days. I will likely be back for another YouTube Live as we get into Wednesday afternoon and evening, especially as how things progress. Maybe even I'll do one tomorrow. We'll see how things go with that. But with that, I will start to wrap this up in full. If you have any photos or videos you'd like to share, certainly share those with us at nbcmontana.com/chime in. If you happen to watch our broadcasts at 5 and 6, you heard about the plane crash that happened up in Kalispell. Some of the footage we received for that came directly through chime in. So if you see news and weather happen, certainly feel free to share that with us. You might see your photos and videos on air or online. And then tune in to our live broadcast tonight at 10 o'clock. We'll have the latest news and weather updates. And then tomorrow morning, Chief Meteorologist Brooke Foster and Jason Hurst on NBC Montana Today starting at 5. So again, thank you all for tuning in this evening. Have a great evening and a safe evening, and I'll see you all on the next one. With NBC Montana, I'm meteorologist Mitchell Coombs.